you curious to know where Elton John first played in Los Angeles? How about Frank Sinatra and Jim Morrison? In today's video, I'm taking you to a few iconic music venues in Los Angeles where some of the biggest music history happened. Number 3 on our list is the Troubadour, located in West Hollywood. The Troubadour was opened in 1957 by Doug Weston as a coffee house on La Cienega Boulevard. Then it moved to its current location shortly after opening and has remained opened since. It was a major center for folk music in the 1960s and subsequently for singer-songwriters and rock music. In 2011, a documentary about the club called Troubadours, Carole King, James Taylor, and the Rise of the Singer-Songwriter was released. The Troubadour played an important role in the careers of Hoyt Axton, Jackson Browne, The Byrds, Neil Diamond, Elton John, Eagles, Carole King, Love, Joni Mitchell, Van Morrison, Bonnie Raitt, Linda Ronstadt, Tom Waits, and so many others. In October of '62, comedian Lenny Bruce was arrested on obscenity charges for using the word schmuck on stage. Buffalo Springfield debuted at the club in 1966, and Randy Newman started out there as well. On August 25th, 1970, Neil Diamond introduced Elton John, who performed his very first show in the United States at the Troubadour. Comedians Cheech and Chong and Steve Martin were discovered there in the early 70s as well. In 1974, John Lennon and Harry Nilsson were thrown out of the club for drunkenly heckling the Smothers Brothers. In 1975, Elton John returned to do a series of special anniversary concerts. In November 2007, James Taylor and Carole King played a series of concerts commemorating the nightclub's 50th anniversary and reuniting the two from their 1970 performance. The Troubadour featured new wave and punk in the late 70s and early 80s, including Bad Religion, Flipper, Meat Puppets, and Red Cross. LA residents and proto-grunge band Melvins has played the Troubadour stage 24 times and counting as of November 2019. In the 21st century, everyone from the Arctic Monkeys to Billy Talent, Coldplay, Rise Against, The Libertines, and more have performed at the Troubadour. The best part of all of this history is that the Troubadour is still open today, and as things go back to normal in Los Angeles and the world, well, as normal as, possible. Was it ever normal? Anyway, that's a different video. Point being, you can still see your favorite bands perform here today. Number 2 on our list is the Hollywood Palladium. The Hollywood Palladium is a theater located on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. It was built in a streamlined modern Art Deco style and includes an 11,200 square foot dance floor, including a mezzanine and a floor level with room for up to 3,800 people. The theater was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2016. Los Angeles Times publisher Norman Chandler funded the construction of the Art Deco Hollywood Palladium at a cost of $1.6 million in 1940. It was built where the original Paramount lot once stood by film producer Maurice Cohen. The ballroom opened on October 31st, 1940. What a Halloween. The bill was Tommy Dorsey and his orchestra and his band vocalist, little known Frank Sinatra. It had 6 bars serving liquor and 2 more serving soft drinks at $1 cover charge and a $3 charge for dinner. You won't see that these days. President John F. Kennedy attended a dinner given in his honor by the California Democratic Party at the Palladium on November 18, 1961. In 1973, Stevie Wonder performed with Taj Mahal in what was advertised as an Afrocentric concert to benefit African refugees. And then, beginning in the 1980s and 90s, punk rock, rap, heavy metal concerts, all of that started to get booked at the venue. In pop culture, films and television shows that have been filmed at the Hollywood Palladium are The Day of the Locust, Adam 12, Skeleton Town, USA, The Blues Brothers. Richard Pryor taped a comedy special here. Several comedians and bands have released records and stand-up specials entitled Live at the Palladium or something similar to that. There are also a few famous celebrity roasts that have happened here, like the roast of Bruce Willis happened here. It's a big venue. When it's not being used for concerts, it's big for celebrity parties. As you can see, as I was driving by doing the footage, the MTV Movie Awards are going to be here. So that's just one example of everything that happens at this historic Hollywood Palladium that is still open today. We'll be doing an entire video very soon on Tower Records and the entire history and why this building is still here even though it's not Tower Records anymore. Until then, we were just driving by and I wanted to show you because it is also extremely relevant and extremely profound in music history. We've reached number 1 on our list, and to some of you, this will come as no surprise. It's the Whiskey A GoGo. The Whiskey A GoGo is one of those places where if you've never even been to Los Angeles, you have heard of the Whiskey A GoGo. It's synonymous with rock and roll history, music history. There is so much that happened here and continues to. The Whiskey A GoGo opened its doors on January 11th, 1964, in an old bank building that had been remodeled into a short-lived club called The Party by a former Chicago policeman, Elmer Valentine. The Whiskey A GoGo opened with a live band led by Johnny Rivers and a short-skitted female DJ spinning records between sets. When the girl DJ danced during Rivers' set, the audience thought it was part of the act. Thus, the concept of go-go dancers was born. Rivers rode the whiskey-born go-go craze to national fame with records recorded partly live at the Whiskey. The Miracles recorded the song Going to a Go-Go in 1966, which was covered in '82 by the Rolling Stones, and Whiskey A GoGo franchises sprang up all over the country. In 1966, the Whiskey was one of the centers of the Sunset Strip police riots. The club was harassed repeatedly by the city of Los Angeles, which once ordered that the name being changed, claiming whiskey was a bad influence. The Whiskey played such an important role in many musical careers, especially for bands that came from Southern California. Bands like the Byrds, Buffalo Springfield, and Love were all regulars. In 1966, the Doors began their legendary engagement as the house band at the Whiskey A GoGo. During their tenure at the Whiskey, the Doors opened for acts like Van Morrison, Buffalo Springfield, the Chamber Brothers, and Captain Beefheart and his Magic Band. They got exposed to a wide-ranging audience, hardened groupies to crazy tourists. The Doors began to experiment. One night, Morrison was so stoned that he fell off the stage a few times. A lot of British performers made their very first headlining performances in the United States at the Whiskey, including the Kinks, The Who, Cream, Led Zeppelin, Roxy Music, and Oasis. I played there a few years ago with my band, and it was such an honor to play on that stage. The Whiskey became a focus of emerging new wave and punk rock movements also in the late 70s. It frequently presented acts like The Germs, The Runaways, X, Motley Crue, and Van Halen, while also playing host to early performances by the Ramones, The Dictators, The Misfits, Blondie, Talking Head, Elvis Costello, XTC, The Jam, and Japanese doo-wop group Rats and Star. In 1982, the Whiskey closed its doors, but it reopened in 1986 as a 4-wall venue that could be rented by promoters and bands. Although a few booths remain on the perimeter, the interior has been mostly transformed into a bar seatless space where the audience stands throughout the performances. Today, the Whiskey is still rockin' and rollin'. It hit hard times during the pandemic, but there was a benefit show in which Miley Cyrus and many other bands performed to save the Whiskey. If you're visiting Los Angeles or you live here and you've never been to any of these 3 places, you definitely gotta go at least one time. That does it for a few iconic music venues that are still around today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, please like, subscribe, let me know what you thought because part 2 will be on the way soon.